Everything around us, every action we take, and every thought we have is connected to science. Science isn't just what happens in a laboratory or what's written in a textbook. It's the language of the universe, the framework that explains reality. The moment someone wakes up in the morning, science is already in motion. The sound of an alarm clock is physics, vibrations creating waves of air pressure that your ears convert into electrical signals, decoded by your brain. The sunlight streaming through the window is astrophysics and nuclear fusion, photons created in the heart of the sun through hydrogen atoms fusing into helium, traveling millions of kilometers through space, filtered by the atmosphere, and absorbed by photoreceptor cells in the retina. Even the act of getting out of bed involves biomechanics and chemistry, muscles contracting through the sliding filament mechanism powered by adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, produced in cells through respiration. Making breakfast? That's chemistry in action. Toasting bread triggers the Maillard reaction, complex chemical changes between amino acids and sugars that create browning and flavor. Brewing coffee extracts soluble compounds through heat, water, and pressure, a process fine-tuned by chemistry and thermodynamics. Even taste itself is biology, as receptors on the tongue send signals through cranial nerves to the brain's gustatory cortex, where flavor perception is built. Step outside, and meteorology takes over. Air temperature, humidity, and pressure creating the weather patterns you feel on your skin. The breeze is fluid dynamics, the smell of rain is chemistry, and the blue sky is Rayleigh scattering, where molecules in the atmosphere scatter shorter wavelengths of light more than longer ones. The device you check for messages on is a marvel of applied science, electrical engineering in its circuits, materials science in its screen, quantum mechanics in its semiconductors, and computer science in its operating system. Every notification that pops up involves networks of satellites, fiber optic cables, algorithms, and physics-guided transmission of electromagnetic signals. But science doesn't just explain the physical, it's also the basis for understanding life itself. Biology explains how cells form tissues, how DNA stores instructions, and how evolution shapes every living thing. Psychology uses the scientific method to study human thought and behavior. How dopamine pathways influence habits, how perception is shaped by past experiences, and how stress triggers the fight-or-flight response. Sociology applies scientific principles to group dynamics. Economics studies the measurable flows of goods and resources, and political science uses data to understand governance and decision-making. Science is not just out there in grand theories, it's in every simple thing we do. Even a conversation is science in motion. Air from the lungs passes over the vocal cords, creating vibrations shaped by the mouth and tongue, producing sound waves that travel to another person's ears, where tiny hair cells in the cochlea convert them into electrical signals interpreted as language by the brain. Laughing is a mix of psychology, social bonding, and neurochemistry, releasing endorphins that make us feel good and strengthening connections between people. Science also governs the unseen, forces and processes we don't consciously notice. Gravity keeps us anchored to Earth, an invisible constant that affects how we walk, jump, and even how our hearts pump blood. Electromagnetism holds our atoms together and drives the flow of electricity that powers our homes. Nuclear forces hold the nuclei of atoms intact, and quantum mechanics governs the behavior of particles so small they defy intuition. The very fabric of reality, space, and time, is studied through relativity, a theory confirmed by the way GPS satellites must adjust for time dilation to give accurate location data. Everything is science when you realize that cooking a meal, driving a car, or planting a seed is an experiment with inputs, processes, and outcomes. Even art, often seen as purely creative, is deeply rooted in science. Paint pigments are chemistry. Musical notes are vibrations with specific frequencies. Film and photography are physics of light, optics, and sensors. Architecture is a union of geometry, materials, science, and engineering principles. Science is not separate from beauty, it creates it. The colors of a sunset come from light scattering, volcanic ash in the air, and the position of the sun relative to the horizon. The symmetry of a flower is biology shaped by evolution to attract pollinators. The sparkle of snow is the physics of light reflecting off ice crystals, and the rhythm of a song is an auditory pattern that resonates with the brain's neural circuits. On a larger scale, science connects us to the cosmos. The carbon in our bodies was forged in the cores of long-dead stars and scattered across space in supernova explosions. The water we drink is billions of years old, cycling through oceans, clouds, rivers, and living cells in an endless loop. The continents we live on drift slowly over Earth's mantle due to plate tectonics, reshaping the planet over millions of years. Science explains the rising and falling of tides through the gravitational pull of the moon, the change of seasons through the tilt of Earth's axis, and the diversity of life through natural selection. But science is more than facts. It's a method, a way of asking questions, testing ideas, and refining understanding. It's how we know that diseases are caused by microbes, not curses. That Earth orbits the sun, not the other way around. That climate change is real and measurable. Without science, humanity would not have antibiotics, clean water systems, electricity, flight, or the internet. Science also humbles us. It shows us how much we don't know. How the ocean depths remain largely unexplored, how the human brain's complexities are far from fully mapped, how the universe's ultimate fate is still uncertain. It pushes us to keep exploring, questioning, and learning. Every decision we make, whether personal or global, can be guided by scientific thinking, gathering evidence, considering outcomes, and adapting to new information. The scientific method is the most reliable tool we have for separating truth from belief, signal from noise. In this sense, science is not just in everything, it's for everyone. It belongs to no single culture or nation, but to humanity as a whole. It thrives when shared openly, tested rigorously, and applied ethically. Understanding that everything is science can change the way we see the world. It transforms a simple walk into an exploration of biology, physics, and geology. It makes looking at the stars an act of time travel, seeing light that left its source millions or even billions of years ago. It turns problems into puzzles to be solved, and it reminds us that no question is too small to matter. The air we breathe, the ground we walk on, the relationships we form, the tools we use, the dreams we chase, all of it is science. It is the map and the territory, the question and the answer, the lens through which reality comes into focus. And when we understand that everything is science, we don't just learn about the world, we learn how to live in it better. If you enjoyed this journey through the science behind everyday life, subscribe to Magister Factotum for more fascinating explorations of how our world truly works.